Hi, this is Racha. Today we are going to learn how to knit. This scarf is a lace scarf that have a pattern in column, and we have here 1 column, 2, 3, 4, 4 columns, and the pattern is not that hard. If you tie it up, just knit and purl. This is gonna be a good project for you to start learning how to do the lace. And as you can see, it keep repeating itself. I make 4 columns because I think this is a wide enough for me. It's about 6.5 to 7 inches, and it's stretched. It could stretch up to 8 inches. And I'm gonna show you how to knit this one, okay? And I'm using baby wool and baby alpaca. It's a 100-gram ball of yarn, just 1 ball, and a pair of knitting needle. I use number 8 needle, and it's a good idea to have a row counter with you, because then you can keep track of how many row or what row you are at. So let's start by knit the border first. So what I had here, I knit garter border. So I'm gonna knit first. I cast on using long tail technique, and then knit for 3 rows. So let's start by casting on. So we're gonna cast on 29 stitches. I'm using long tail cast on. If you use other method of cast on, you will need to knit 4 rows to do the border. The reason I'm only knit 3 rows because long tail cast on give an already an extra row that look like you've been knitting for a row. So I just have to omit 1 row. We want to work on the right side when we come to the when we complete our garter border. Okay, so I'm gonna cast on 2, 3, 4, 5. Keep going until I get my 29 stitches. So now I got 29 stitches on my needle. So I did my cast on. Now I'm gonna do my first row of knit. So I'm go ahead and knit every stitch. So if you need to review the cast on long tail method, you can. I'm gonna put the link into it so you can go look at it. And knit, just keep knitting the whole row. So I just finished my knit row, and I got my first row done. So now I'm gonna start my second row, and we got 1 more row to go after this. So just keep doing, and I'm gonna knit 2 more rows like this. So then we have our garter stitch border finished. Then after this we can start our first row of lace pattern. So this part is boring, so I'm gonna pause and finish up my 2 rows of knitting, and I'll come back. Okay, now I just finished my garter stitch border. So now we're gonna start our first row of pattern on the right side. Okay, so you should begin your first row on the right side, and let me show you on my long scarf that I haven't really completed yet. Okay, this is what we got right here. That's the border. Now I'm gonna go to the first row. Okay, so this border is done. I'm gonna put this aside. So So we begin our first row. So this is a good time to turn your stitch counter into 1 first row. Okay, I use this circular knitting needle because I like it more flexible, and I just slip this counter right into that cable there. I can't think of the word. Okay, now our first row, we're gonna start out by slip our first stitch. The reason we slip the first stitch because this will help with making our border look nice and beautiful, and you can see it look like braid. So how do you do that? You just slip the first stitch. It depends on what the next stitch is. Sometimes you have to slip in the front one, sometimes you have to slip in the back one. So like this one, the next stitch will be purl. So when I slip, I'm gonna slip through the back loop. Okay, so we're gonna start out by putting the right needle through the back loops, go from the back to the front, and then slip it right off the left side needle. And remember to have the yarn in the front before you do that, because we slip it purlwise always. And gonna purl the next stitch as usual, and then knit, and then purl. Okay, so the pattern is start out with knit, purl, knit, and then we're gonna have another 3 set to do purl 3 together. Before we do purl 3 together, we're going to do the yarn over. It will cause the big hole of the lace here. Okay, so we do that by wrapping the yarn around the needle 1 time. Wrap, and then leave yarn in the front, and now we're gonna go purl these next 3 stitches together. So put the needle right through those 3 stitches and use this index finger to support that so it won't slip off prematurely. And then wrap the needle just as you purl, and I always use my thumb and index finger to hold that yarn so I have control of that, and pull and purl them together. So after you purl them together, you have 1 more wrap to do. So wrap the needle again and then purl the next stitch. Okay, so this complete our first set of pattern. We don't count the first stitch because that's just the border to make it nice and neat. Purl, knit, purl, purl, purl 3 together, and purl. Okay, so we got that. Now we're gonna do the next set. Knit, purl. Always after purl stitch, we're gonna wrap the yarn and then purl 3 together. I'm gonna write all these pattern down for you so you don't have to really worry about it right now, just to see how I do it. Okay, wrap the yarn again after P3 together. After wrap the yarn, we always purl 1 and then start all over again. Knit, purl, yarn over or wrap the yarn, pull 3, wrap the yarn, pull, knit, pull, everything tangle up, sorry, okay, pull, wrap the yarn, pull 3 together. This is the hardest row, the first row. The rest are pretty easy. Wrap, pull, knit, pull. Last stitch, always knit. Knit. Okay. Now we finish our first row. We're gonna go on to our second row. Let's untangle this. Okay. Our second row, we're gonna move our counter to number 2. So just in case something interrupt thing, so we can keep track where we are. Now, the second row, the first stitch, we're gonna slip, but you see this time our second stitch is knit, so I have to just slip it purlwise and pick up the front loop instead of back loop like last time. Okay, the second row, slip the first stitch and the front loop, and then knit the knit stitch. This one is knit, so we just knit, purl the purl stitch, knit the knit stitch, and now we come to the part where we did the wrap the yarn or yarn over, so it got a big gap here, as you can see. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna purl the wrap yarn and purl the one that we purl 3 together, and then purl the wrap yarn, so it'll be 3 purls. Oops. So remember to bring yarn to the front. I almost forget. That's happened. Purl, purl, and purl. So we're just gonna repeat the same thing again. You knit the knit stitch and purl the purl stitch, and knit, and then purl these 3 again. So I'm just gonna finish it and all the way to the end. I'm almost finished my second row, so I got 2 more stitches to go. Knit the last stitch, always knit as usual. So my second row is done. So we got 2 more rows for the pattern, and then after the 4th row we just go back to the first row again. So I set my counter to row number 3 now. 3, and begin my 3rd row by slip the first stitch purlwise through the back loop. Okay, slip the back loop up and then purl. This is like the first row when we did that, so it's the same way. So the 3rd row is pretty easy. You just knit the knit stitch and then purl the purl stitch all the way through, so nothing else. So all you have to do is just knit the knit stitch and purl the purl stitch. the one that you did 3 purl last time and now turn into knit 3, so we just knit those 3 together, not together but separately. So you keep going like that until you finish the row. Okay, now my third row is almost done. I leave these last 2 stitches to show you. Pretty much the same thing again. Purl, the stitch before last, and then the last one always knit as usual. And now I'm gonna go on to our 4th row. The 4th row is the last row, and let's see, this one the slip stitch is the same as the 2nd row, the wrong side. The 4th row is the wrong side, the 2nd and 4th are wrong side, and 1st and 3rd are the right side. So slip this one, yarn in the front of the needle, slip the front loop, and then put the yarn in the back and knit the next stitch, and then just follow the stitch there, purl, knit, purl, 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 knit, purl. So do like that all the way to the end. There's nothing to manipulate, just knit and purl on this one. Okay, so I'm gonna pause it here and finish my row. Okay, now I just finished my 4th row, and we do the same thing with the ending. Just knit the last one. So our 4th row is complete. Now we're gonna start all over again from row 1. So we repeat row 1 to 4, 1 to 4 until you almost run out of yarn. And I have here my scarf that I knit. It's very long. It's long enough for me. If you think it's not long enough for you, you can add another skein of yarn and keep knitting. Some people do like long scarf, but I'm rather short, so I don't need a long scarf. And what happens next if you come to the part that you think you have enough of a scarf? So you want to end your knitting with row 1. Okay, so do one more row and you end it with row 1, because I think it look prettier with the pattern that close up together rather than open up like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and do one more row of row 1, and then we're gonna complete our scarf by finishing our border. Okay, so I'm gonna start knit my row 1 all over again to end up my scarf. So I'm just gonna do that, and you do yours while I'm pausing. Okay, one more thing I forgot to mention. So before you finish your scarf, you want to make sure you have enough yarn left to finish the borders. So the best way to do this is to have your yarn measure. So what I do mine is usually it's gonna take 3 times of the yarn to knit 1 row. So I will count, like I do like this, 1, 2, 3. So this is like 3 times of the yarn to finish my 1 row of knitting. So it depends how many row I need. So I have to multiply that by 3. So I'm gonna need 4 row of garter stitch, which is 4 row of knit, because I'm closing up, so the binding off row I'm not gonna count. So it's gonna be different than the first cast on, because the cast on one it has extra loop that make it look like a first row already. So I'm gonna need let's see, 1 row of the first row and then 4 more garter and 1 more binding. So that's gonna be 6 rows. So I will need about 6 times 3, that will be 18 times of the yarn. So you keep doing like that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so forth until you come to like a 16 times. Okay, so that's the trick. So now I'm going back on knitting my first row to close up the scarf. So okay, now I just finished my first row of the pattern, and that's gonna be now my ending row of my scarf. Now I'm going to finish off our scarf by doing our garter stitch border, just as when we began. Okay, so what I'll do now, just knit 4 more rows. So knit. This time you don't have to worry about slip the stitch, okay? Because we're gonna do garter stitch now. So we just knit every stitch all the way. So I'm gonna keep knitting until I finish my 4 rows of knitting or garter border. Okay, so I just finished my garter stitch border, and the only thing that we have to do now is just cast off, and then we'll be done. So remember how to cast, did I say cast on? Cast off. Okay, so we just have to do the cast off. So we're gonna knit the first stitch, knit the second stitch, and then pass the first stitch over. We got our first cast off. You can call it cast off or bind off, so either one is correct. So I'm gonna keep doing cast off or bind off until I finish my row, okay? And I'll show you how to end off the last stitch. So keep doing that. Knit the new stitch and pass the previous stitch over it, and do it not too tight, okay? So you don't want it to pull too much. So I'm gonna keep doing that until I come to the last stitch. Okay, now I'm gonna do my last bite off. Okay, so now you got 1 stitch left on your needle here, and don't leave it like that. You will never ever leave that one undone. Okay, so what we need to do is we're gonna end off, it's called ending off the last stitch. So you need to snip off this yarn here and do about 5 inches or 6 inches there. And what you're gonna do is pull it a little bit so that you have enough room to slip this end of the yarn through. Always do that, okay? Because otherwise you will lose your work. And pull that tight. So now I'm gonna have to go look for my needle so that I can thread this behind my work so it will look nice and neat. Alright, I found my big eye needle. There's another name for it, it's called tapestry needle. And if you don't have one of these, get one. It's really handy. It has a big wide eye that you can thread your yarn through, and you will use this needle to seam the side of your sweater, to weave the yarn, and it's very handy. So you got this yarn left, you're gonna tuck it somewhere behind your work. So what I usually do is I just turn it to the wrong side, and I will weave this so that people won't notice it. So I'll go look for a way that you can go unnoticed. So I'll put that there like that, and then I'll weave it back and forth a couple times so it stay nice and snuggle. I'm just follow this yarn pattern and come up and come down one more time. So you try to do it so it won't interfere with the pattern, okay? And then I'll do it one more time, and then I'll snip it off. There, that's good. See, you hardly notice that. So slip it off closely. There, perfect. So we finish our scarf, and I hope this video helped you. And now I have to find my other end so I can do the same thing. I'm just gonna snip off this yarn, and I'll weave it behind, and then it will be done. Thank you for watching, and good luck with the project.